Welcome to Vision Night. I'm Mr. Jason Van Sale, and we are coming to you live from the King's College and Preparatory School. And as you can see behind me, I'm here standing outside of Echo. We will be joined tonight by our principal, Mr. Raats, and our Board of Governors Chair, Mr. Trevor Hartley, who are going to reflect on the year that we've had, highlight our big moments, and then share our vision for 2021. Later on in the show, we'll also be having a Q&A time, so please write your questions in the comment section below. We are aware that there's a presidential address tonight, so we will be finishing promptly at 7 o'clock. Let's cross over into Echo, where we have Mr. Raats and Mr. Hartley.
Thank you, Jason, and a very good evening to all of our parents joining us for Vision Night 2020. I'm Trevor Hartley, and you joined with our principal, Mr. Raats, and we are just delighted to be with you this evening. This is definitely a first for us as we live stream to you, but we are as excited as we were last year when we had our first Vision Night. I want to start off just by sharing a quote by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Miles Monroe. He says that vision is painting a picture which produces passion in people. He also goes on to say that sight is a function of the eyes, but vision is a function of the heart. And what we want to do this evening is we want to get our parent body excited for what the future holds. We want to stir meaning and passion in your hearts, and we want to ask you to dream with us. We're going to be reflecting back on the year that we've had since our last Vision Night, but also looking excitedly and expectantly forward into 2021. I'm joined with our principal, Mr. Raats. And Kala, you joined us in February 2020, not knowing what this year would hold. And by March 2020, COVID had hit us. So a lot of our parents haven't got to know you personally. So I want to start off this evening by asking you, tell us a bit about your story and how you got to be with us here at the King's College.
Thank you, Trevor. Yeah, it has certainly been something that I've been, or can I say, I had to get used to the new environment very quickly. But just from a personal point of view, speaking to my family life, I've got a beautiful wife. She's a clinical dietitian. She's run a private practice for about 14 years now. And we've got 3 beautiful children together, ages 8 and 6, and they've been enjoying their life on campus ever since arriving here.
So a little tidbit here is I heard that you recently had a 10-year anniversary. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So I think we need to give Mr. Raats a shout-out over there for 10 years, and probably Mrs. Raats more so. But one more little piece of interesting information. You mentioned that Trinette is a dietitian, and what many of our parents won't know is that when you first met, she had been invited by Manchester United Football Club to go overseas to have an interview with Sir Alex Ferguson to be the first team's dietitian. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, we all joke about that quite often. We met in July, and by then she already had the plane tickets and the visas and everything ready to go for the interview. And by mid-August, she had the job. And it was also a long weekend holiday, and I was ready to resign and fly over to England. But at the end of the day, we decided that we need to give love the best chance we possibly can, and here we are.
So I know that Trinette will be watching our broadcast, and I want to say, Trinette, thank you for giving love a chance. Had you not given love a chance, Kala wouldn't be with us this evening, and we wouldn't be enjoying his leadership at our school. So Kala, talking about your leadership, an interesting fact about you and just your career is that from a very young age, you had determined that you wanted to be an educator. You wanted to be involved in changing young people's lives. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, that's true. Like most matrics, I had a few options of what I wanted to pursue as a career, but I really felt that being an educator and going into education was the way that God prompted me, and that I felt that He created me for. So, and I've from school went into teaching as a career, and I haven't been enjoying the journey with Him ever since.
So I know that you're pretty passionate about Kings and specifically around our purpose, why we exist. Tell us why that is.
Well, if you just look at the first sentence of our purpose is to raise up and release godly leaders through education, and that is so important that we make sure that when our matrics graduate from Kings, they get more than just a matric certificate, and that they really make a claim of who they are as Christians as well in the world outside of the school.
So thank you so much for that color. We're going to be getting on with our evening. If you cast your minds back to August 2019, for those of you who were with us, that is when we had our first King's Vision Night. And it was really a phenomenal occasion, as I've already mentioned. And so much has been started, so much has been accomplished since then. But if I had to describe in a simple statement what has transcended since August 2019 to where we find ourselves today, I would sum it up in this statement. We heard you, we went to work, and we are now in a better place. So if you remember, shortly after our Vision 2019 night that we had, we sent out a parent survey. And one of the things that we asked in our parent survey was, what do you enjoy most about Kings? And there were two overwhelming responses. And there is going to be a graphic that will come up now, and that graphic is weighted. So your first response, the thing that you enjoyed most about Kings, was that Kings was Christian not just by name. The second thing that you really appreciated about Kings was the quality of our teachers. So if we had to ask you, Kala, why is it so important that these things that we are good at, we continue improving on? What would you say?
I think the main thing for a parent, if you drop your child off on a school campus, you want them to be safe. And that's the main thing for us, is that the parents have that safety of mind, that their children are safe. But also for the values that we instill and that we teach on campus is an extension to the values that they're being taught at home. And our core values of knowledge, integrity, new thought, growth, and social impact are so important, because that is the plumb line of how we make the big decisions on campus, and also what drives us into what we do on campus.
So I love what you're saying there, Kala. I mean, you're a parent, I'm a parent, our kids come to the school. And one of the things that I love is that you are helping teach our children from a young age that their identity exists in who they are, not necessarily what they do, but you're also helping them get a confidence to say, you know what, we can really make a difference in this world. We can be meaningful contributors. So thank you to you and your staff for that.
Thank you, Trevor.
If I have to move on, one of the things which we've been doing more recently is engaging with our parents in terms of feedback and their perspectives on how we're doing, where we're doing things well, where we could be improving more regularly. We're not just looking at those annual surveys. And one of the comments that we received from Mrs. Kanya Tamse more recently says this, and I want to read it because I think it does emphasize what it is Kala's saying. Our experience at the school has been so good. I feel that my children are in an environment where they are really loved and which is helping prepare them for the rest of their lives. One of the most significant differences at King's is that the school is not only Christian in name, Christianity is practically lived out. In my personal interactions with the teachers and leaders, you can see that they live out what they say. Being at King's has been a wonderful experience for my child, from the classroom to participating in ballet or funfit. When your children wake up in the morning looking forward to going to school, you are happy as a parent. Kala, just hearing that feedback from Mrs. Tamse, how does that make you feel?
She hits the nail on the head. From a principal's point of view, the educators are the biggest asset of the school, and to really invest energy into the professional development, because ultimately that goes into the quality of the learning. I've always believed that an educator, or being an educator, has got two levels. If you're just a teacher, that's one-dimensional. But as an educator, there's a teaching and a learning component to it. I recently challenged my staff during this year, and it has been quite difficult for them, and challenged them to say that are you a lifelong teacher, or are you a lifelong learner, and to really focus on them as teachers or as educators to be lifelong learners as well, and then ultimately instilling that into the pupils.
So I love what you're saying there, and I know that when the Board of Governors interviewed you for this position, one of the things that really struck us was your conviction around developing staff and investing into them. And I love what you said there, the difference between being a lifelong teacher versus a lifelong learner. And what I want to share with our parents tonight again is some feedback that we received from Mr. Kevin Smith. And again, I just want to read his comments because I think it is so profound. It says, the school has done one of the most important things brilliantly, recruiting key personnel, especially teachers. Teachers make or break a child's formative education years, and I'm hard-pressed to imagine a school giving Joshua better teachers than what he has had thus far. I also believe the school to be well-managed and governed. These factors tend to be invisible when all is going well, but their invisibility is a sign of institutional health. The school's future-focused vision resonates with my convictions about where education should be headed and reassures me that our child's future is in good hands. Kala, comments like these from parents must really make your day. When considering Mr. Reed's comments, what are your thoughts around just the importance of, teachers being an ambassador for the school?
Well, that is so important. It's an ambassador not just to the pupils, but to the parents and as a community as well. Whether they're being on a sports field, a cultural activity, or just representing the school as who they are.
So what we've done is taken a brief moment just to look at how we are continuing to emphasize the importance of being Christian, not just in name, and also the quality of our staff. But what I'd love to do is, would you as parents give a shout out in the comments section right now? I don't know if you can give a thumbs up or just a well done to all of our teaching staff. They really have done an incredible job this year. I know when my wife and I came out of lockdown, as I'm sure you did as well, there was a whole new appreciation for the teaching profession. So let's just honor our teaching staff who are with us watching online tonight. To our teachers, we love you. We thank you so much. You're serving us and our children so well. But it's not all about what we're doing right. We also have to be looking realistically at where can we be improving. And one of the questions in the survey asked what could change if we could do one thing differently to improve your as the parents' experience here at King's. What would that one thing be? And there were 4 different areas which came out as overwhelming themes. The first was to improve the quality of the sport. The second was better communication. The third was to look at our approach to learning. And the fourth was better partnerships with parents. And Kala, I want to ask us to touch on those areas briefly. Looking at the first one, improving the quality of sports. And I think that was a concern. But if I could take a liberty, I think it's perhaps also a bit more broad than that. As parents, they're investing a lot of money into their children's development, and they're not only expecting academic growth, they're expecting whole person growth. So if I could perhaps throw open this question to not only include the quality of sports, but also cultural expression and developing their children as future-focused leaders. So talking around improving the sports, what have been some significant shifts that we've seen this year?
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I think as South Africans, we're very much sport orientated. But looking at the whole me approach that we have towards our pupils, it is important to look at all aspects of sports, culture, and leadership. Talking about sports, it is so important to make sure that the structures are there. If the structures aren't there, we can't really improve our sports. So what we've done early in the year, we've appointed a head of boys sport and a head of girls sport. Obviously, we can see the effects of that during the lockdown, but looking into the future, that's definitely going to have a massive influence. We will still have the administrators looking at all the admin, but those 2 appointments are specifically looking at skills development from coaches' point of view, as well as from the players' point of view, from grade 1 straight through to grade 12. And then we're also looking at offering new sporting codes, because we know that not all boys are cricket players, not all girls can play softball or can swim, and it's important to cater for a wide variety of skills in our pupils, looking at the introduction of golf and FunFit. We recently had our FunFit games last week, which was a major success. And we need to develop those skills in our pupils as well.
So I wish I had your foresight when I was in primary school. I was a terrible swimmer, almost drowned in my first gala. So to have this variety is really great. Something which our head of sports, Mr. Matt King, often says is that there needs to be a change of mentality from sport just being an extramural activity to almost this academy approach to sport. And as you mentioned, there were some great strides. January, February this year, our cricket teams went on one of the first national tours that we've had in a long time. What excites you as you look forward into 2021 when it comes to sport?
Well, just looking at how excited the boys were when they came back from the tour, and also prior to that, to really be part of something like that, the experiences that are gained on tours like that, whether irrespective of the sporting code, are invaluable, and they always come back richer.
So hopefully our parents will continue seeing that we are committed to improving the quality of our sports.
Most definitely.
But another area is just looking at cultural expression. What strides have we taken forward in that area?
We at the beginning of this year, we launched the Culture Academy. So with the assistance of experts in their field, in music and instruments, and we launched the Music and Dance Academy at the beginning of this year, and that even through lockdown has been very successful. We also, from a college point of view, appointed a head of college culture, which ran parallel to the head of college sport, and just really pushing and driving the cultural aspect of the school. And then also, we recently heard that 4 of our matrics, our current matrics, have received scholarships to study at the American Music Academy in New York. And I'm sure that New York won't be the same ever again. These are opportunities that are created, and we've got such depth or rich talent in cultural field on campus, and we need to mine that and really let that blossom.
Something which the parents wouldn't have been privy to, but which myself and the Board of Governors has certainly enjoyed, is in your role as principal, you've come in and you've really relooked at the structures of these different departments and what we're looking to achieve. One of the things that you've been restructuring is when it comes to future-focused leadership. So tell us a bit more about your views when it comes to the King's Leadership Academy. I know last year when we had our Vision Night for 2019, Mr. Jason Sandowns, who is helping Mr. Ian van der Merwe head that up now, gave us some insight into the whole ME framework and what we're looking to do. But since you've joined us, you've added more structure, more dynamic ideas, and greater opportunity for people to really develop in their gifting. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, developing leadership is not something that just happens at a whim. We need to be very purposeful in creating opportunities for our pupils to let their leadership skills grow. So what we've done is we looked at the leadership group, the grade 12 leadership group, and be very purposeful in their roles as leaders. What we've done is within the leadership committee, we've created 5 committees for 2021, and we will. Each matriculant will sit on that committee with the mentorship of staff members, looking at committees of leadership, sports, academics, culture, and social impact. And they will also have representatives of all the grades in the college, from grade 7 to grade 11, and really develop those the leadership skills in those committees throughout the course of a pupil's college career. Ultimately, we can serve or develop the leadership skills of about 170 pupils every year, and I think that's so important for the leadership development of the school.
So I love what you're saying there. So our grade 12 student leaders are now getting specific portfolios in one of 5 different areas. But not only them, we're going to be inviting representatives from grade 7 all the way through to grade 12 to be a part of this King's Leadership Academy. And I think what I really love about that, Kala, is that we're giving the opportunity for student learners to be developing their leadership skills. They're going to have to be looking at what the needs are in the environment. They're going to have to be speaking through what some possible solutions are. They're going to have to come to board meetings with proposed solutions and just experience the decision-making process and perhaps even governance of how leaders are needing to understand needs of those people they're serving and come up with decisions.
That is so true. We need to involve our pupils into the decision-making processes, so that they can also understand, how a school functions and really, from their point of view, play an integral part.
I know something that you certainly celebrated, and it was mentioned at our prize giving with the grade 12 student leaders who've just left. But they really were invested into the process, and I think you and I were both blown away at how they contributed toward the thinking of where we as a school are going. In terms of how you foresee the student leaders moving forward, participating in helping us identify solutions, what is your philosophy when it comes to that?
Well, they need to have a voice and a purpose. And just speaking into the 2020s matric group, I was so blown away about the level of maturity of how they handled this year, and were purposeful in leaving a legacy that's intangible, but has such a long-term effect on the classes that come after them.
So I know there may be some parents of the 2020 matrics still watching. Thank you so much. Your children are amazing. Moving on, a second area that the parents noted as an area for us to improve was around better communication. So what have we been working on as a school when it comes to better communication?
So the first one there, communication for me is so vital. In communicating with the pupils, with the staff, and also the parents as community. The first one was the launching of the Moving Forward document last year in 2019, and obviously continuing throughout the course of this year, and just give a monthly synopsis of all the happenings that have been going on throughout the year, and not really missing a beat this year, even with lockdown. Then everybody saw Mr. Jason van Zyl at the beginning of the presentation. He was appointed as the new head of communications and marketing, and he's played such a crucial role in the efficacy of communicating to the parents, and how we communicate. We also recently launched the King's video series that's specifically focused on our 5 core values, and really celebrating those individual core values per video. And then the last one, and this is so important, is you mentioned about the think tank in February, and one thing that came of that was the concern or the limitations of D6. In January 2021, we're moving over to a new administrative system called EdAdmin, but it's more than just an administrative system, it's also a communication tool. And where D6 is more of a one-dimensional communication, the new EdAdmin has got a parent portal as well as a pupil portal app where, two-way communication can happen. And that also enables and empowers the parents to be more involved, and try and also monitor the communication and the academics, everything that's happening in the school.
So one of the things that you've said repeatedly since coming in when it comes to communication is you've made the distinction between informed communication and involved communication. For all of our parents out there listening, what does this mean, the difference between informed communication versus involved communication?
This is something that, from my studies I've always carried with me, is if you have a one-way communication, you only have an informed community, but if you have two-way communication, you have an involved community. And that for me is so important, and putting these communication structures in place really equips us and enables the whole community to really have that two-way communication.
So I know for myself, I'm not too much of a tech fanatic. Like I enjoy tech, but not seemingly like you. And one of the things which you've really been excited about at this new EdAdmin platform is that with the parent app, parents can actually start tracking the progress of their children when it comes to their education parts. So looking
correct.
at the work that they're doing, looking at how they're responding in the classroom. And this type of data analytics is not only going to allow us to enhance the learner experience, not only going to give our educators incredible handles in terms of how to better meet the needs of individual learners, but it's going to give parents insight into where their children are at. If you had to give a message to the parents around using this new opportunity, what would you say to them?
Well, it's exactly that. It's an opportunity, and they need to really utilize all the functionality of the app. We'll obviously roll out the process and making sure that the parents know how to use it. But like I said, it's more than just tracking an assessment mark. It's really to communicate effectively.
So if we move along to the third area of concern, which you as parents pointed out needed improving, it was in terms of our approach to learning. And I know we had already started talking at the Parent Think Tank in February this year around some great ideas, incorporating technology, looking at new pedagogies. But what lockdown really did is it forced our hand into really making significant strides in terms of our strategy when it comes to a new learning approach. So, Kala, if I had to bring you in on this point, there has been a lot of time and effort that I know you personally have expended around this idea of our approach to learning. What have been some of the key wins that we've experienced this year, and what can we look forward to moving into 2021?
The first one was the think tank that was held in February, and you spoke about that. And we got valuable information from the parents in that, and just speaking into what their expectation is of in terms of learning, can I say, new approaches to learning. The second one is we established an advisory board, where we had members of that have experience and expertise and in an online schooling environment, and really tap into their knowledge and their experience of what it looks like, especially during this year, because our staff had to make that mind switch from a traditional classroom into an online environment, and really looking at how we can improve on that. And then we were appointed in July. We also appointed a head of learning and development, Mr. Gareth Sark, and into 2021 he will become quite a strong voice in rolling out all the new programs. And he's in charge of making sure that the learner experience is of a high quality in our classroom. And then the last one is looking at looking into 21st century learning. What tool can be used to best equip us for that, and that is also one of the main functions of Mr. Gareth Stark as the head of learning and development, is moving over to the Google's side of education from Teams, and the G Suite apps and Google Classroom have been in education for more than 20 years, and it's specifically designed for the classroom. And that is so exciting. The staff have been gone through development throughout the course of this term to make sure that they're upskilled as educators in those apps, so that come to January 2021, we're ready to roll that out.
So I think you've described in about 2 minutes a process that has been 6 months in the making.
Yeah.
And just, I want to touch in a bit more detail on some of those comments. So firstly, with Gareth Stark, he was significantly involved at his last school in terms of digitizing their learning experience. He's come into our school. He's had some phenomenal ideas. He's joined us on the advisory board. And perhaps just a note to the parents out there, what the advisory board is it's external advisors. So we've got people who are involved in organizations that help schools with governance, specifically at an e-learning level and a digital level. We've got members of commerce who run digital enterprises who are involved in this advisory board, and we've got someone in our very own ranks, a parent in the school who heads up a online Tertiary Education Institute on the advisory board. And I must say, Color, that there have been some really tough conversations. They've pushed back when decisions have been made. They've ensured that we've really done our homework when considering the different platforms that there are and what is best going to serve us in terms of our long-term strategy, not just a short-term COVID relief strategy. So I'm putting myself in the shoes of parents who have just experienced so much change in the last little while. And now they're hearing for the first time, perhaps, that we're going to be transitioning from a Teams platform, a Microsoft platform that they've just got the hang of. The kids are familiar with that, and you're saying we're going to throw another change into the mix come 2021, and we're going to be shifting to the G Suite, the Google offering. If you had to still some of their concerns and perhaps some change fatigue that they may be thinking is going to hit them beginning 2021, what would you say to them?
And the most important part of that is and I said this in my one of my communications recently, is the basic skills of reading, writing, and arithmetic is still there. You know, those things are still going to be taught in school or in class. But moving over to the G Suite and the apps, that is simply that integrating that technology into the classroom is simply to enhance the learner experience, to make it more informative, more interactive, and to make sure that we move away from a traditional classroom and a classroom that is more learner focused.
So I love what you're saying there, Color. And to give the parents a bit of a teaser, we're going to be having a parent evening come the beginning of January where Color and Gareth Stark are going to be speaking in detail about this transition that's going to be taking place next year. And I want to let you know you don't want to miss it. I think it is incredibly exciting, this whole new learner-centric focusing on the learner experience, looking at enabling technology, looking at data analytics, looking at the staff development, looking at the parent partnership and how parents partner. It is going to be amazing. I know you could probably speak about that for the next hour easily. You're so passionate about it. But parents, you're going to have to wait for next year parent evening. This is a reason to turn out for that. So, Color,
No pressure, eh?
No pressure. I've hammed you up over there. You and Gareth better deliver now. The parents' expectations are up there. But moving on to the fourth big area that the parents mentioned was an area which needed improvement in terms of the feedback they gave us from the parent survey. It's the partnership with parents. And I know that this is, once again, an area where you are wanting to really build trust with the parent body to show that we are wanting to hear from them. We're wanting to work with them in terms of their ideas and their contributions. What have been some of the wins when it comes to parent participation over the course of this last year?
You know, also it started with the think tank and having almost 100 parents in the auditorium and just getting their point of view, getting them invested into the change journey was so valuable. And the second one, you also touched on having a parent on the advisory board was so important for me personally, is because that instills trust from a parent point of view and also from a principal's point of view. And then also we've got a parent who's a medical practitioner, runs her own medical practice, and she's in communication with medical forums across the country, also board of governors of schools around the country, and keeping up to date with new medical research, what schools do, how they handle situations like COVID-19 and lockdown regulations. And those partnerships are so important for us as governors of the school.
So one of the things that I loved experiencing, obviously we had the parent think tank in February. The idea was to have more regular contact, give feedback to those parents involved. Because of COVID, that hasn't been able to happen outside of a lot of the areas. But two of the areas that did happen, for the parents who were involved in the think tank around technology and around new learning, you hosted a meeting with them where you shared something of where we headed into 2021. And I have to share this with those parents who wouldn't have had the opportunity to hear the story. But one of the parents towards the end of the evening said, it's great that we've heard feedback. It's great that we've been envisioned in terms of where the school's going and you've asked for our perspective. But if I have any future ideas, how do I handle that? And Kala, without hesitating, said, you have my email, please drop me a mail. And Kala, I love that about you. That was probably my standout moment in the meeting because it was so authentic. And so clearly we've got parents who perhaps weren't able to make the think tank, or because of COVID, we haven't been able to follow up on different areas, whether it's nutrition or whatever it is. What would you say to them in terms of future involvement and ideas they have?
I think the main point here is we need to build this vision, and we need to walk this journey together. And there's so many plans, like we're talking about now for our future. And our parents, we've got such a rich resource on campus with the parents, individual skills or knowledge, or even from a professional point of view. And it's so important for us to tap into that, and for them to be invested into the school and walking that journey with us.
So thank you so much for that open door policy. What I do want to do now is I want to end off this moment before we go into an announcement and then into some Q&As from the parents, just again with a comment from one of our parents who was recently again interviewed, recently asked for feedback, Mr. Wayne Reed. And he said this. He said, the school has always placed academics as the first prize, but it has been good to see a more forward-thinking vision where we're trying new things. I'm a sports guy and have seen a push to improve sports recently. My wife and I have also appreciated a lot more parent inclusion and have found that it is harder to find fault when you are helping build the solutions. We are seeing a unified leadership team that wants to modernize the school and move Kings forward. There is a lot of hard work left, but we are on a journey with the school and are excited about the future. We are all in this together. When you hear those comments, what does it make you feel?
Well, it's heartwarming because it just acknowledges the effort that the staff have put in this year, and not just this year. Getting to the school reputationally and where we are currently, and obviously Mr. Reed and his family have walked a journey with the school, and also hoping that new families coming in or families that have been walking this journey for just a small period of time will walk that journey for a long time with us, and also experience the same.
I really love that. So we're going to be heading into a time of Q&A shortly. But before we do, I want to use Mr. Reed's last sentence to intro a very important piece of information that we need to be sharing with you this evening. Mr. Reed rightly says in his last sentence, there is a lot of hard work left, but we are on a journey and are excited about the future. We are all in this together. I love that idea of we are all in this together as I share some very important information with you concerning 2021. Ordinarily, we wouldn't be speaking about school fee increases in our vision night, and I can hear some parents already saying, okay, let's hear what they have to say, shifting to the front of their seats. But we just felt because of the delays in actually getting to our vision night this year, and also the time of year that we found ourselves at, it is an important conversation, and even more so due to the economic climate we currently find ourselves in. So together with the Board of Governors and the school finance team, we want to share with you this evening what we are thinking around the 2021 school fee increases. I must say that we've done everything in our ability to keep it to the bare minimum. We have also succeeded in approving the lowest increase that we've had for the past 9 years. But what we wanted to share with you is that the increases are going to be based on where your child is, which phase of the school it's in. The monthly school fee increase will vary from 415 Rand per month for those in foundation phase to 490 Rand per month for those in matric. We've also planned the annual extras per grade up front this year to give you better information. It also will allow us to bill that annual extras evenly over the 11-month billing cycle. And if you are like me, a recovering accountant or perhaps an accountant and are quickly running for a pen and paper to write all of this down, don't worry. We are going to be distributing a detailed breakdown of all the figures tomorrow to the parent body on D6. But in line with our desire to be communicating better with parents, to be open and transparent in our communications, we really felt that it would be important to include this as an important notice as a part of the stream that's going out to you. Now, I know because of the tough situation that we're in, there are going to be a number of parents that are asking why the increase, even though it is marginal, why the increase? And I have to say that there are a number of legitimate reasons why we have to make this marginal increase. But the essence is we really believe that in order for Kings to continue serving you and your children with the best possible learning experience, we have to be able to retain and develop our amazing staff. Kala has spoken to us around all the exciting developments that lie ahead, and his desire to develop the staff falls into that. We also realize that your feedback that we've received as parents has indicated that the quality of our teachers is what impacts the quality of your children's education most. During this time, we are going to definitely be remaining committed to our staff, knowing that you and your children are going to reap the full benefit of this decision. However, we have to also say that we are committed to you, our parent body, and your families. And I would like to re-emphasize from the Board of Governors that we are in this together. I think Mr. Reed's famous words are going to echo around this campus for a long time yet. We are in this together. And I want to re-emphasize that we remain committed to partnering with you to every extent possible, both in the good times and those times which are more challenging. So as I mentioned, more information will be distributed tomorrow. We're going to be heading to Jason now, Mr. Van Sail. He's going to be posing us some of your questions, which hopefully we can answer. I know I'm probably going to be shooting some of the tough ones over to you, Kala. But Jason, what are some of the questions that the parents have been communicating with you online?
Thank you so much, Mr. Raats and Mr. Hartley. I've got some questions that have come from various parents. So our first question is from Passmore Gutura. And the question is, any chance of including coding in your curriculum?
Passmore, that's an excellent question. Apologies. We recently had a meeting with a company where we were thinking of outsourcing that as an extramural in coding and introducing our pupils from grade 1 to grade 9 in coding. They're experts in their fields, obviously limited in the foundation phase, but trying to increase the the knowledge and the skills into the grade 9 level. It is definitely a discussion that we have been having for 2021.
Wonderful, thanks, Mr. Raats. Our next question comes from RPD Koala, and the question is, when will the grade 6 Jerusalem dance be released?
So Kala, I would love to include in that question, when is it going to be released with you leading the charge in the Jerusalem dance?
I was born with 2 left feet, but luckily our role in that was quite limited. It will be released shortly. I know that the technical team or the media team had a technical difficulty with the storing of the video, but I had nothing to do with that. I just want to say, but that will be released shortly.
So they're trying to edit your 2 left feet out before they release it publicly.
All right, we have another question, a question from Andrew Goldman. Will you be relaunching the think tanks, allowing parents' involvement in growing the specific areas?
Yeah, so I think, Andrew, thank you for that question. And we were hit a bit blindsided, I think, like the rest of the world with COVID this year. We have got every intention to continue with those think tanks. In fact, just this last week, in a Stratcom that we had at school, we reviewed the results from the report. So after the parent think tank, we produced a report which details all of the parents' suggestions. It details the parameters. It was an incredible night of thinking differently. And it was really something which we realized, because of the positive response from the parents, it's something that is really needed going forward. I think based on what happened with COVID, attention needed to be shifted to different areas. But Kala, this is actually something that you and I were talking about last week, where we said we need to, again, be looking at those formal structures of providing parents the opportunity at the think tanks to ask for different things to be done, to share insights, but then to formalize the process of feeding back to those parents, as well as then following through in terms of timelines, milestones, project plans. Speak a bit into that situation and what we've discussed.
Yeah, the main thing there is to identify where the needs are. And really focus then on them, on those needs, and open that up to the parents and say, listen, this is what we want to roll out through the course of 2021, and then take it from there.
So I think just on that note, one of the areas that I mentioned earlier was the tech and new learning area, where parents were invited for a follow-up meeting, just because that was a key focus during COVID. Areas such as nutrition haven't been as high on the agenda without kids being on campus largely until more recently. But Andrew, great question, and I think the commitment that we've heard from Color and certainly from a board perspective is a resounding yes. We are going to be continuing with that. We're going to be mapping out more formal structures and making sure that ideas don't just remain ideas, but they actually shift into project plans which are followed through on and which can be measured.
Wonderful. We've got our next question from Pixie Wee. As a school, are you actively encouraging students to pursue out-of-school sports such as equestrian and esports?
I'm going to leave that to you, Color.
Yeah, thank you, Pixie. I think it's not something that we would discourage. Obviously, from a school point of view and representing the school, we would strongly encourage our pupils to take part in the school sports, and that's why we want to offer a wider variety of sports. But we simply don't have the means on campus to for equestrian or other codes that are simply not logistically possible. What is important there is that we will still celebrate those achievements. And honor those pupils.
So I think, Pixie, we thank you so much for that thought. Just reflecting back to last year, Vision Night 2019, some of the suggestions which came through from the form of extramural activities was like a photography club. And we definitely have the resources on campus. Looking at the media team, I know the photography club was launched. It was getting traction before COVID. So I love these type of ideas. I do think we're not going to be able to implement absolutely every single one of them. But I think, like you said, Color, where people are excelling and where people are doing well, it's going to be one of our values of just honoring where they've accomplished so much.
Yeah, that is correct.
Wonderful. Our next question comes from Lorian Calvert. Evening. I have seen many private schools looking at implementing IB, International Baccalaureate, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, as opposed to IEB. Is King's looking to follow suit?
Thank you, Lauren. That discussion haven't happened. We haven't spoken about that. I do know that the IAB is internationally recognized and has an extremely good reputation internationally. So at the moment, it's not something that we are looking at purely because we do think that what we offer is of high quality.
Wonderful. Our next question, does the school see a future in accepting overseas students now with the recent online learning, or would an exchange student program be put in place? We always open for getting exchange students. It will enrich our pupils, and also for our pupils to go overseas will also enrich their experience and their education. It's not a discussion that I've had, or from a board of governors point of view, but definitely open for such programs. Yeah.
I think what I'm loving, Color, is when parents start feeling like they are being heard, when parents start feeling that the suggestions or ideas that they're providing are really being taken seriously and listened to, we're going to have, I think, a lot more suggestions coming through.
Yeah.
And that really aligns to where it is as a school that we're wanting to go. We really want to become a school that is known for producing world-class leaders that can go into different environments and can really make a difference. I know talking about international tours, we had a culture tour to Paris just because going to another city, another country, another environment is so beneficial for the whole person growth of individuals. Again, COVID had other ideas, but I think suggestions like this, where parents are coming forward and perhaps even having contacts or networks into different environments, is all just going to add to the product offering of our school, but also to the experience that our learners are going to be able to take with them into life. So thank you for that suggestion to the parents out there, and I want to invite you to continue sharing your ideas with us.
All right, I've got 2 more questions. Bertha Chalila says, not sure if it was covered in the beginning, but are there plans to build change rooms closer to the swimming pool?
Thank you very much. That's a discussion that we actually had prior to COVID, is to extend change rooms from the NCCB offices at the back of the swimming pool into that area, and that will service both the pool area as well as the field at the bottom. So we are aware of that need, and it's something that we'll definitely are going to have a look into 2021 now.
All right, and our last question from Brigitte Weiss. What are your plans for grade 12s next year?
Sure, that's a great question, Kala, and I think if I can read a bit into that question, is that this year has been an unprecedented year. And I think just talking into, the situation that a lot of our grade 12 learners 2020 experienced, speaking to some of their parents, it was really a year, and you mentioned it up front, where the learners did an exceptional job of coping, of working through what was otherwise a very tough year. Often, it's like the pinnacle of your schooling career. Like, you can't wait to get to grade 12. You're going to be the captains of sports teams. You're going to be the captains of cultural teams. At your A game, best in the school, and that has somewhat been taken away from the grade 12s of this year. And like I say, if I read into that question, not knowing what next year holds, how are we thinking around the whole experience of our grade 12 learners?
What I've learned from this year's grade 12s is they wanted to leave a legacy. And I'm sure that that's the same with every grade 12 year. And looking into next year, I would love to give them opportunity to have influence in the grade 11 group for the year after, and influence across the whole school. We spoke about being purposeful in developing them as leaders, but just to make sure that they also leave a legacy in their own right.
So I believe that is our last question of the evening. It looks like we are going to be finishing to allow people to grab a quick bite before the presidential address, which is going to be happening a little later. This has been our first ever live stream Vision Night 2020. Color Raats, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to ask the parents to give a shout out, give a clapping hands, a thumbs up emoji, give some kind of recognition for being online with us. We really value our parent body. I think we have exceptional parents. We've got exceptional staff, and it is an incredible environment to be on this campus. Even more so, looking into the exciting future that we have. I want to thank everyone for allowing us to be serving you and your children in the provision of not just an education service, but in helping you develop for your future. Kala, any last words for the parents before we hand back over to Jason?
Like I said before, we need to walk this journey together, and you as parents should be just invested into the future of the school as we are, and I just want to encourage you and invite you to walk this journey with us.
Thanks so much, Jason.
Thanks so much, Mr. Raats and Mr. Hartley. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing for us and envisioning us and encouraging us. Thank you to all of our viewers that tuned in for tonight. A special shout out to our learners who, the matrics have already started the exam period. For the rest of the school, all the best with your exams, and have a great evening further, and have a great week. Thank you so much.